Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. promising reforms in his last 2 years in office in his fifth State of the Nation address this afternoon. On security, he promised continued peaceful assertion of maritime rights as Manila marks a decade since a landmark ruling in The Hague on the South China Sea. Mr. Marcos also announcing the recovery of some $13 million from anomalous flood control projects. With no resolution as yet in the Middle East, the Philippines will diversify its sources of energy, including hydrogen and nuclear. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says they've set aside a budget of more than $900 million to mitigate the impact of war on Iran. Jhesset Enano is tracking this story for CNN. She joins us now from Metro Manila. Jhesset, if we judge by applause in that audience in the Congress, what points received particular attention?
Well, there were many points that Mr. Marcos has delivered that really garnered a lot of applause and even a standing ovation from those in attendance in the Congressional Hall. President Marcos started his speech from where he left off in 2025, which was the anti-corruption drive on anomalous flood control projects in the country. Mr. Marcos said that the officials and contractors who are involved in these projects will be held accountable. And without naming any particular official, he alluded to his cousin and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, who is set to be charged by the Ombudsman for his involvement in the flood control controversy. Mr. Marcos said that as painful as this was for him, he is not a president of his friends or his family, but rather he is the president of the Philippines. And this was a statement that was met by a long applause by the members of the Congress. Mr. Marcos also ended his speech with strong yet select words directed to the country's allies and detractors alike. He made references to a common threat against Filipinos' dignity and self-respect. While he did not name any particular country or mention a particular incident, the past few weeks have seen tension between Beijing and Manila, most notably a Chinese state media posting an AI-generated video that depicted Filipinos as monkeys, a move that Manila has strongly condemned. Let's hear what Mr. Marcos had to say.
We are Filipinos, and we do not yield. Just recently, we celebrated the 10th anniversary of the final and binding 2016 Arbitral Award, which stands as a definite benchmark for the interpretation and application of the UNCLOS. This is not a claim that we advance alone, nor is it one that we will abandon. Your government will do all that is necessary to continue upholding this award, utilizing every peaceful and legal means available to the Republic against any attempt, foreign or domestic, to undermine this achievement.
Jhesset, clearly one priority for Mr. Marcos there on foreign policy. What other priorities did we hear, given that he has just the 2 years left?
So in his speech that lasted about an hour and 26 minutes, Mr. Marcos outlined several economic policies that are really aimed to alleviate the impacts of inflation and of soaring pump prices that is acutely felt here in the Philippines. These include financial assistance to farmers, transport subsidies for public transport drivers, and even tax relief exemptions and suspensions for middle-income households, proposals that were all met with strong and long applause from the members of the Congress. But what really stood out in his speech today was his call to lower the power rates in the country, which is currently the highest in all of Southeast Asia. He demanded for the amendment of the country's Electric Power Reform Act and to prohibit the passing of the costs of electricity that is lost from generation to transmission to the consumers. However, even with these proposals, workers' groups and trade unions said that some of these, if not all of these measures, do fall short of really addressing the economic development that should be felt by many Filipinos. From his speech, it also appears that Mr. Marcos is really keen to focus on energy security as he closes out his term in office, while briefly mentioning the country's efforts to diversify its renewable energy portfolio. Mr. Marcos also strongly signaled the country's pivot to natural gas, hydrogen gas, and nuclear energy. However, this was also immediately criticized by environmental groups who said that these are costly and even dangerous distractions from the country's renewable energy goals. Finally, another brief mention in Mr. Marcos's presidential address today is the country's inclusion in the United States-led Pax Silica, saying that it will revitalize the Filipino economy and that it could situate the country within the global AI and technology value chain. However, in the recent weeks, we have been hearing from environmentalists and human rights groups who have voiced their opposition to this project, citing their concerns on its extensive extraction of water and energy in the communities where it will be placed, among others.
Thanks, Jhesset Enano there from Metro Manila, looking at President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s fifth State of the Nation address today, right there in the Manila. Thanks for that.